All right, so hello. I am back with another video because I recently got inspired to create a movie tracker. And I did like the idea of sharing this publicly. So this website is live and you can go access and take a look. So originally the idea started with tracking movies because movies has been a big part of my life ever since I was in college. My college roommate, she was really into movies, and I feel like that inspired me to, I guess, pay more attention to them. And since then, I have been tracking every single movie that I've seen and the day that I watched them. And it's mainly just for new watches. So if I ever rewatched a movie, I wouldn't really keep track of it, but I did stop focusing as much on keeping track. So I have missing years, like 2019 is missing, 2024 is missing. And for 2025, last year, I just filled in what movies that I can recall seeing. There's definitely a bunch that are missing. So I just wanted to talk through really quick my thought process behind the website and what some of the icons mean. I thought it would be nice to have a section on the right to show my rewatches because right now, and for a while now, I have been more interested in watching over movies than watching new ones because I have a pretty low opinion on a lot of the movies that are coming out lately. I don't think they're very good. I think the ideas they're using are too reliant on things from the past. For example, Devil Wears Prada 2. I went to watch that last week and I thought it was terrible. It's watchable, but I feel like it's not good at its core. It relies too much on reminiscing on the first movie, and that's what Gladiator 2 did. And I don't think a movie should ever do that. It should be pretty good on its own without constantly reminding you of the first movie and what made it so great. The grid of posters, these movies only represent when I watched the movie for the first time. And then on the top right, you see all of these icons. They're pretty self explanatory. And so for me, ratings wise, I don't like using numbers because I didn't like to assign what a number means, especially if you have a broad spectrum like 1 to 10. And even for IMDb, they go into decimals, and I didn't want to do that. So I feel like I'm pretty basic. I either hate a movie, dislike it, I like it, or I love it. And I'm still trying to figure out if I want to have a neutral category, but I feel like neutral doesn't tend to happen. You either lean more towards liking it or disliking it. So I used this axe emoticon for hated. It's from Dota 2, and I've always really liked it because it's just this little head and he's angry and then he starts shaking. And I really like it. Okay. And then also up here, I have this GIF of Milo on his cat wheel. This is a GIF that I paid for to use for Twitch. And I always really liked how it came out, and I don't stream anymore, so I never get to see it. So I just figured I would add it up there. Also, I really wanted to make sure that for any Chinese movie that I watched, it would have the original Chinese name in there, which is here on the second row. And then over here, you see this icon, comment icon. That basically means that for the movie, I have actually written comments about it. So a lot, 90% of these older years, you will not see this because unless I love a movie and want to go back and write about it, I won't make comments on it except for here on out. So these are all historical movies, right? All of these are super old from 5+ years ago. I will not spend the time going in and writing my thoughts on it unless it's a movie that actually really stood out to me and I want to take the time to do it. But for the most part, I will not unless it's from here on out. So the way that I designed it is that if there are comments, you can visually see that to know that you can click into the poster. For a movie that does not have comments, it will merely show up as a modal to give you a description of the movie, the genre, and then if you wanted to click into IMDb, you can do it here. So yes, when you click through, these are all the movies that I've seen through the year. And then you can also filter it by what I hated or disliked and liked. And obviously for these older years, this will probably not be filled out because yes, I don't want to go through and fill out for these. Well, I will probably take the time later to fill out for some that I know for certain this is how I felt about it. But for example, this fucking movie, The World's Fastest Indian, I barely remember it, so I'm not going to care to add ratings for most of them. Or you can filter by genre. And so these are auto generated genres for the movie. This is also my favorites of all time. So I do have to rack my brain a little bit to really make sure that there's a movie that's not missing from this list. But for the most part, these have always been the movies that really stand out to me. Far from the Madding Crowd is one of those period films I actually watch over a lot. And Flipped is one of the first coming of age films I really, really loved. I like coming of age a lot. And so The Way, Way Back is another one that I tend to rewatch over and over. The Thing is one of my favorite sci fi movies, along with Alien and Aliens. Oh, yeah, Terminator 2 needs to be on here. I'll add that later. Painted Veil, I love it. Naomi Watts and Edward Norton. And it is one of the most beautiful stories that I've seen about forgiveness, as well as accepting someone for the way that they are. Gladiator, I would actually say, is my favorite movie of all time. I love it so much. It makes me cry so much every time I watch it. Dances with Wolves, tremendous film. So good. I feel like it sparked my interest in Native American culture. I really enjoyed the depiction of Native Americans in that movie. And then Promising Young Woman, so good. So, so good. I watched this movie over and over as well. Carrie Mulligan, man, seeing her come full circle, she got her first acting job in Pride and Prejudice. And to see her career up until now, she has done amazing roles. She is an amazing actress. And I love movies. Now, when we go to our books, something I wanted to point out that is pretty important is I have this little tag up here that says spoilers ahead, read thoughts at your own risk. The reason that I put it up there is because I don't want to go through every single movie and check to see if I wrote spoilers. The way that I wanted the site to work is I wanted to be unfiltered thoughts about the movie and I want to just write it down. And likely it will include spoilers. So basically, what I want to warn people is if you want to click into a movie or a book and read about it, just know that you may come across spoilers. Assume that you will. For the books, I also have this little pop up that says a digital collection of the physical books on my bookshelf. These are all the books that I physically own back there. I took a picture and pretty much told AI to scan through the picture and add them to my library. So these are the 4 books that I've read in 2026. I am currently reading Lonesome Dove over again. As you can see over here, I have a progress bar, and I will probably update that bar every single time I read for the day. So this is my 3rd time reading this book through, my favorite book of all time. You will see here, I have a little banner for it because it is so special to me. And pretty much after I read this book, last year I was on a Larry McMurtry binge. As you can see, I've bought so many of his books, just all over the place. Larry, everywhere. But also, I started focusing more on reading Pulitzer books. So Trust is a Pulitzer book. Goldfinch is a Pulitzer book. James is a Pulitzer book. And I have a few other ones unread that are also Pulitzers. Night Watch, Underground Railroad, All the Light We Cannot See. And so I would like to get to those eventually. A bunch of other unread books, several World of Warcraft ones. So Diablo, the Sin War, Book 3, I did want to read it after I read the other 2, but I was finding the story to be too typical. Like, I think that's what got me bored of reading the WoW books. It's always some big bad evil that's very powerful. You overcome it, and then there's another evil that you have to deal with. And it just feels like it repeats over and over again. And I don't feel like the story is good enough to keep me engaged. I bought this Blood Ties. It's pretty recent. It just came out along. So this book, I assume, came out in conjunction with the expansion or shortly before. And I was thinking that I would be interested in reading it because Christy Golden has written the Arthas book, which I really enjoyed. I loved Rise of the Horde. I actually really love these books. The Last Guardian, I really like. I really like Khadgar. Unfortunately, he's not a character that really was focused. I think that's another one of my issues with these books. There's certain characters that I really like, and I would like to follow just that one character and see him develop. But for these books, it's not like that. You get them for one book and then they just get lost later on. So after watching the Warcraft movie, I really liked the Khadgar character as well as when I read about him. And so I wanted to follow his progression and see what happened. And I feel like he ended up being lost in the void or something, fighting a war for hundreds of years. I don't know. But they just kind of discarded him and moved on to something else. So that was a little sad. I did read Sylvanas. Christy Golden put that out just before Blood Ties. And I was more so interested in this because Sylvanas was a character that has existed from the beginning and interacted with Arthas, as well as reading about her beginnings with her sisters was pretty interesting. But anyways, I'm not going to talk through every single book, but hopefully it'll be pretty cool for you to digitally see everything that I own. And so as I keep reading and buying, I will add to this. So Larry is definitely my favorite author now. He has a very unique style of writing that I have never experienced in other authors before. It's humor. And really, some things that are really ridiculous and random that he manages to write about, and I find it refreshing. I don't even care what the plot is for his books half the time. I'll just buy it and read it because some of his books, plot wise, it doesn't actually feel like there's that much going on, but it's still entertaining to read. And it's because of how he writes it, how he has his characters interact with each other. And he just has a special touch to his writing that I find amusing. I feel like I have read a lot of his work. There's still a few other books that I probably haven't gotten to, but this is really the most that I have read of any author. I do have a lot of Stephen King books, unfortunately, because I actually find him pretty overrated now. Like when I look through what I have read by him, I don't feel like any of them are actually memorable enough for me to constantly talk of it fondly. Like Lonesome Dove, I will never stop talking about this book. It will stay in my mind forever. And I actually want to constantly be reminded of this book because what I noticed is after I finished reading it, one of my, well, he is my favorite literary character of all time, Gus McCrae in this book. I didn't like the feeling of forgetting about him where after you finish a book, you move on to other stuff, right? And so the story and the character is not as fresh in your mind anymore. And so as time passed, I didn't like that I felt like I was forgetting about Gus because he is really special. And I don't feel that way at all about any of Stephen King's book. And then you'll see random books in here filtered in where I enjoy reading biographies about people or some memoirs. Most of the memoirs that I will read will only be women because I am always very curious to read about different women's perspectives, their experiences. And Pope Joan, that one really stands out for me. I love that book, which is so surprising to me because I'm not a religious person. I'm pretty anti-religious. And so this book is about the Pope and the Catholic Church. And so I figured I would hate it, but I loved it. It's written so well by Donna Wolfe-Cross. I also made sure to add this informational button that opens a modal, which will explain everything that I had said before about what all the icons represent, and then having the sidebar panels, the year archives. And so I feel like I have explained everything pretty fully. You can even go here and type in, search for a movie if you want. So Atonement, why is there no movie? Interesting. So Atonement might just be a movie that I watched before 2011, likely. And so it wasn't part of my list, even though I have seen it. So that's the challenging thing. There's a lot of movies that I saw during my childhood before I started tracking that probably won't be listed here. And it will be, I don't know if it will be something that I really go through and add in later. If you want, feel free to provide feedback in terms of usability, like something that might make using it more simple and easy. For example, something that I didn't think about that my friend brought up with me is that if you have a filter on and then you change the year, that filter should still persist. So the first time I sent it to him, that didn't work. And so I added that in. Random ideas like that, where you feel like it could make it convenient to use, feel free to let me know. And I hope you enjoy browsing through